Going on, guys? Mega Gig back with another video. Been looking forward to the next patch updates, and they finally dropped yesterday evening. Wasn't able to make a video yesterday. It looks like it happened right at 4 o'clock, and I'm actually not entirely sure if these are live yet. I assume they are. Not live, but live on the PTR rather. And they are more big buffs. For the most part, it looks like just straight up damage buffs again. But we're going to go through, just going to kind of do a rundown of all the changes, and then, you know, I'll make other videos on the builds and stuff later. Bloodshed is still the same. That hasn't changed. Ground Stomp, Jarring Slam Rune has been changed now. Added a maximum threshold on the number of health globes that can spawn in any given time. So I don't know if there was no maximum before and they just spawned like crazy. I don't know, or it just dropped health globes like crazy. I don't know. It is important to note that all the changes are updates to this. Pretty much all of them are in red, so we're not going to go over every little thing like these, because these are changes that have already been done in the past. For instance, Tempest Rush, the Flurry Rune stacks reduced from 500 to 100. Yeah, that's been the same for quite a while now. So we're basically just going to go over the things that are important, and the things that are in red, and some of the things are in red. If they're new, will be scratched out like this. So for instance, the Witch Doctor passive Creeping Death got extended from 3,600 seconds to 14,400 seconds. They went ahead and increased that a little bit more even. And I'm guessing this is for the Jade Witch Doctor build. I don't really see any other build that would benefit from it. Of course, it could be just slipping my mind. But yeah, it now lasts the 16,800 seconds. So yeah, that's something, I guess. Sure. And the Wizard Arcane Orb, I don't play Wizard a whole lot, but the Frozen Orb rune, they increased the travel distance from 30 to 45, and looks like that might have been a little too far, so they brought that back down to 40. One of the few nerfs that have happened in these in the PTR patch so far. So, I mean, that is a nerf. Anytime the number goes down, any kind of damage or travel distance number when it originally went up, it is a slight nerf. I don't know how, you know, that 5, I don't know how much of a issue that's going to be. Wizard players can let me know though. And then bug fixes. Fixed an issue where Bone Armor, the Dislocation Rune, did not apply the movement speed and attack speed reduction provided by Rigor Mortis. So that is obviously welcome. Pretty much anytime they fix a bug, it's welcome, except for this wasn't welcome, because this feels like a nerf. If you guys were unaware from the last patch, the Battle Rage Bloodshed rune, where the damage from critical hits was not being scaled by the proc coefficient of the power doing damage. This feels like it's been nerfed to me. I'm not entirely sure what the proc coefficient of the power doing damage means. Math was never my strong suit, but yeah, it feels like Bloodshed doesn't do as much damage as it did previously. So, but on to the new things. Also fixed an issue where monk players could reset the Blood is Power rune, or passive rather, for a Necromancer, allowing them to gain more cooldown reduction than intended. And then also fixed an issue where Creeping Death was not correctly affecting the duration of the Piranha's damage debuff. So those are the patch fixes. On to items. I briefly scanned through here and I didn't see any changes. Sometimes they're making changes like this and they're not in red. That's the initial changes. But there have been a few that weren't in red that I've seen, and if I happen to spot them, I'll poke them out, but we're not going to go completely scanning through there. The Blade of Prophecy for the Crusader was buffed 350 to 450%. Now it's gone all the way up 600 to 800%. And then the Frydeer's Wrath for the Crusader also was 450 to 600. Now 600 is its lowest roll and 800% is its highest roll. Falcon's Foot is now 275 to 350, so another slight nerf. Actually, it's a pretty considerable nerf on Blessed Shield. I guess the Blessed Shield build was too strong. And also here on the Jekken board, Blessed Shield ricochets to 6 additional enemies and has its damage increased 3 to 400%. Now it's 225 to 300%. So I guess maybe the Blessed Shield build was a little too strong. And it looks kind of like the Hammerden build to me, honestly. You got a lot of shields flying around. I haven't had an opportunity to try it out yet. I haven't really focused on my Crusader much. I've actually been just messing around on the PTR, so I haven't really messed with much on the live server. Yeah. And speaking of that, I know I've got some friends on my friends list that message me sometimes, and if I'm on the PTR server, guys, it's a completely different server. You don't even show up in the friends list. I don't see chat. I don't see anything. So if you guys send me things and I'm on the PTR server, it won't show up in game. It will show up in the client, but a lot of times when I close the game, I just quickly close out of everything and I don't even take the opportunity to look. So if you guys happen to message me and I don't respond, it's because I'm on the PTR. Yeah, the messages just don't come through. It's a completely different server. So anyways, moving on. The Demon Hunter. Dead Man's Legacy, the legendary power can now increase multi-shot damage. Initially was 50 to 60%, then 125 to 150, now 150 to 200%, so another slight buff there. Yang's Recurve, again, another slight buff, nothing to really write home about there. We're going to get to the good stuff once we get to the set bonuses. Wizard Death Wish went 30 to 35, now 250 to 325, so that's a pretty big damage buff there. Again, I'm not a Wizard player very much, so I'm not really sure how that's going to translate in-game. You guys will have to let me know. Arcane Turret now goes up to 150%. Halo of Karini, you take a lot less damage now, and then it's for 4 and 5 seconds after, so it just lasts longer there. Nilfur's Boast increases damage of meteor. Instead of 200%, now it's 600%. When your meteor hits 3 or fewer enemies, the damage is increased by a whopping up to 900% now, so that is quite the gain. Very, very much quite the gain. The Grand Visor reduced arcane power cost of meteor by 50%. It increases its damage by, again, went from 30% to now a whopping 500%. So that is another thing that got buffed, and I'm not entirely sure if it needed it. I thought the Wizards were pretty strong as it is, but again, I don't play them, so this could just be a one particular build that is focused around that needed to be buffed. On to the set items. Here we go, guys, especially for the Barbarian. The Immortal King set, originally 400%, then 750%, now 1,500%. That is huge, guys. That is huge. Of course, all these buffs are huge if you're looking ahead. The Might of the Earth set went from 3,000 to 5,600%. Legacy Array Core from 500 to 1,000%. And that is on the 4-piece bonus. The 6-piece bonus went from 1,500% all the way to 2,800%. So again, these are really big buffs, almost doubling everything. Some things aren't quite double. Might of the Earth's not double. Immortal Kings is double. Legacy Raycore is double. And this one is not quite double. So yeah, so a lot of double buffs. And then the same with the Whirlwind set as well, 1,700 to 3,400%. Now, something that's interesting to note, and you guys have heard me talk about this in particular, is, again, it's just a straight damage buff. They haven't really changed any runes. They did add in this last time, and for 3 seconds after. Again, though, they haven't really changed anything to rend. They changed this to where I feel like they want people to use rend more. But even with the rends deal triple damage and the 2-piece bonus rends deal 500% increased damage, rend just isn't that useful. in this build, honestly. And the only way it's going to be useful is if Rend either gets to benefit from this, or maybe Rend can benefit from half of this would be okay. So if Rend benefited from this and then Whirlwind was this, or something in the Rend runes, something with Rend still needs to be changed if they want Rend to actually be worked into this build. In my opinion, let me know what you guys think. Again, all these are pretty much, they're not really reworks, they're just straight up damage buffs. And the reason I think that they're just going with damage buffs and not reworks, and this is pure speculation, but you guys probably know who Riker is. He has said in the past that people have been recruited to work on the Diablo 4 team, I believe. And I think what they're trying to do is just get everything as equal or as even as they can when it comes to the sets in this game, when it comes to the characters, because they want people to have fun and be competitive with a wide range of builds and characters on the greater rifts and on the leaderboards, but they don't want to put in too much time when it comes to actual reworks, because they're probably focusing more of their resources on Diablo 4. Nothing has been officially announced in that as far as I know, but yeah, I think that's what's probably in the works if I'm just kind of surmising things myself. So instead of actually going in and reworking things to make things more balanced and maybe even a little more fun or technical or however you want to say it, they're just going through and buffing everything damage to just try and get everything on an even, dang it, keep saying evil, on an even playing field when it comes to just overall brute strength. So that's kind of my opinion on that. Really looking forward to trying these out. There was speculation that a lot of these were going to get buffed anyways on the forums, and yeah, those are some pretty huge buffs. Onto the Crusader. Armor of Akan got buffed a little bit, just another 100% there. Roland's Legacy got buffed pretty far, 2,500 to 3,300%. Thorns of the Invoker went from 70% to 140. And the 6-piece set bonus here, the attack speed of Punish and Slashed are increased by 50%, and deal, it was 800, then 1,600, 2,700, now 5,400. So again, another huge buff there. Crusaders getting a big buff. And this was interesting. Sentries deal 400% increased damage, then they took it down to 100%, but instead they added that into this. Now it looks like they've gone ahead and buffed that back up to 400% where it was, so essentially no change there, but then they added in another 100% here. So again, just overall buffing this build. I'm not a huge Demon Hunter fan, but I do like a build that's kind of centered around sentries when I play them. Unhallowed Essence also got buffed from 70 to 100%. Not huge, but I guess it is something. Again, I don't play Demon Hunter a whole lot, so maybe it's bigger than I realize. The Monk builds, there were some builds that got buffed, but not one that I wanted to get buffed. Inna's got buffed from 125 to 150% for each Mystic Ally. It's not huge, but when you take into the account that you have 10 Mystic Allies out, it's a decent buff. This is the one that I'm surprised didn't change any. And I guess because 600% for each stack of Sweeping Wind you have is still really, really huge. But the build itself, and you guys mentioned when I did a video, the build itself still feels a little slow, still feels a little lackluster. And I think it's because it takes a long time to build up your full 100 stacks to really take advantage of your at least when you're doing Tempest Rush, of your Tempest Rush build. The Wave of Light build still does a ton of damage under this, so this in particular I guess doesn't need to be buffed in reference to the Tempest Rush build. Just something needs to be kind of added with the Tempest Rush build. Raiment was also buffed. Dashing Strike to they buffed Dashing Strike from 12,500 to 13,000 for 6 seconds, And then Spirit Generators, again, kind of on the same playing field, 1250 to 1300. Not a huge buff there, but a slight buff. I guess they were pretty happy with where that build was, more or less. Seven-Sided Strike has been buffed. Again, Seven-Sided Strike deals 777% its total damage. That wasn't changed, but the increased damage of your exploding palm was buffed another 300%, so, or 400% rather. No, 300. I said math wasn't my strong suit. Yeah, another 300%, so a slight buff there. And Shenlong's wasn't changed. For Necromancer, this is some more interesting stuff. So Bones of Rothma was buffed 625 to 1,000. Again, this was buffed before, so it's not... it is a buff again, but it's not anything unheard of. This one, though, everybody was complaining about the Grace of Inarius set for some time when Mirene got nerfed. And so now they have buffed the Bone Nado, the Tornado of Bone, to 1,000% weapon damage and increases damage they take from the Necromancer, no longer 2750, now 3750, so 1,000% damage buff there. I do look forward to playing around with this. I think when the Necromancer first came out, this set was the most fun, and I think a lot of people really, really enjoyed it. And when they fixed / nerfed Mirene, the I don't know what I want to say. The fun kind of went out of the build, I guess, because it was unique, but it also used a gem that we didn't use very often. So we'll see if this brings the popularity to the build back. Pestilence 6-piece set was buffed from 3,000 to 4,000%, and damage increased was buffed from 1,500 to 2,000% for Corpse Lance and Corpse Explosion. So more buffs there. Tragules hasn't really changed. Witch Doctor was buffed. The Helltooth set, the 6-piece set, Wall of Death, you now gain 5,100%. Holy crap. It was 1,400 and 1,700. Now 5,100% increase. That is huge, guys. That is huge. So look forward to playing around with the Helltooth set, with whether it be Firebats or the Pets version. That is going to do a lot of damage, and I don't know that this set really needed a buff that huge. So we will see. We'll see how it goes. Jade Harvester. I may have said earlier that Jade Harvester wasn't buffed. I did misspeak. That's not what I was talking about. So I am setting the record straight here. So if you guys already commented in the comments before you got to this point, or maybe you skipped over this point, you're going to have to go back and watch the video because I'm correcting what I said now. Haunt initially did 127 or 120 seconds worth of damage, then 480. Now 560. So a decent buff there with Haunt damage, and then Soul Harvest now consumes up to 1,400 seconds worth of remaining damage. So that's kind of why they increased the where is it? Yeah, way up here. That's kind of why they increased this, probably to match with the Jade Harvester set. We went too far. Yep, here we go. So that'll kind of even out with that. Spirit of the Arakir set was buffed another pretty significant amount, from 2,400% all the way to 4,500%. That's pretty huge. Again, with the Zunamasa's set, enemies hit by your mana spenders take 2,500 all the way up to 5,500%. So the pet build under Zunamasa's is going to be pretty crazy. Again, it did a ton of damage already. Damage wasn't really its problem. This might help, but it's kind of like treating a symptom instead of the actual disease. The real problem is the fact that you can't really get your pets to focus. You can run into a group and you can spawn them all, you can summon them all, and they'll blow up that group. But then they just kind of spread out and do their own thing until you're able to do that again. And so this will kind of help. It'll kind of help them clear trash quicker and maybe get to the elites faster. But again, it's not really focusing on the actual problem. And again, as I mentioned before, I think they're just doing these power buffs essentially to get everything on an even playing field without having to actually go in and rework things. I think this is a much easier and much quicker change than actually reworking things. Again, and I explained that earlier. Wizard, the Del Xerez Magnum Opus set was buffed 3,500 to 4,100%. Increased damage for Arcane Orb. Pretty big buff there. Firebird's Finery buffed to 250%. Not huge, but significant at least. Again, I don't play Wizard, so I can't tell you exactly how huge that is. And then other items, not other much items were changed. We are ending the patch notes here. However, there was a bug fix for PTR only, of course. Fixed an issue where the damage over time effect left on the ground by Meteor was not being increased by the legacy version of Nilfer's Boast. So since it was a legacy version, I guess it's not a big deal, but it was a bug. Challenge rifts. It doesn't really say if this is going to make it to the live patch or not. I would hope so. Increase the amount of materials that the challenge rift cache drops. Excuse me. And the challenge rift cache now always drops 10 Death's Breath. Sorry guys, talking too much. Had to take a drink. The throat is getting dry. So yeah, that would be nice if these made it to the live server. Also, bug fixes for monsters. Fixed a champion spawn rate issue for certain monsters required for the achievement We Are Champions. The following monsters were adjusted and should spawn with the same frequency as other champion packs: Fallen Conjure, Fallen Peon, Fallen Cur, Fallen Grunt, Fallen Overlord, and Fallen Slave Lord. And that is the rundown of the patch notes, guys. I will link this in the description. I'll go ahead and copy and paste that, your copy, so I remember. I'll link this in the description if you guys want to come here and look for yourself, or you can just Google Diablo 3 patch PTR 2.6.1 whatever, and it'll be the first link that shows up. But thank you guys for watching. Look forward to testing this stuff out and more good stuff to come. Take care.